Welcome to You Are Your Name. This is Daken Ariel, your host. I have a special guest today, Steffany Alden. She's been using the cycle chart for quite a while. Welcome to the podcast, Steffany.
Nice to be here.
So how long have you been using cycle charts?
Well, believe it or not, I've used cycle charts for 41 years.
41? Wow, isn't
Yeah.
that something? When I was testing them, I would ignore them, and then I would find that it was probably a good idea to follow the cycles. Did you test them out in some way?
Oh, I did actually. I did exactly what you did. I was job searching, and sometimes I would look at the cycle to see what kind of day it was. And other times I would look at the cycle at the end of the day. I would think, what was the cycle like today? And then I would actually look at the description of that cycle date.
That's a good way to test it.
Once I understood about cycles, I then went back over my life and I looked at major events in my life to see what cycle I was in as well.
So you had the cycle charts to refer back to the particular year in question. If you were in a 4-year and you found that there were some testing conditions that corresponded with what the cycle chart predicted?
Exactly. And so that was a learning experience as well. If it was a test year and I started something major and it didn't work as planned, then I could see the reason why.
Have you used the cycle chart in the past? You did mention job search.
That's right. Job search. And also, if I had an idea I wanted to share with someone, it was a new idea, I would find out what their cycle is and I would make sure that I presented the idea in their good cycle.
You wanted them involved in the idea, so you wanted to make sure it was presented in a good cycle for them so that then you'd have a better chance of success?
That's correct.
Did you do that the same for yourself? If someone came to you with an idea and you were in an adverse cycle, you would tend to discount it?
Yes. And the interesting thing is sometimes when I'm in a test month or a test day, wonderful opportunities come along, and that's the test. You think, okay, well, this can't go wrong. But in fact, the test is to recognize that I attracted this situation in a test day or a test month. It's not going to work out.
Invariably, all of us ignore the cycles at least once, and then we sort of realize, okay, maybe that wasn't a good idea. So I'm sure that that happens to all of us. You have these things and you say, well, it couldn't go wrong. And of course it does.
Well, I looked at the cycles. I was looking for work at that time. So I wanted to make sure that I went networking and cold calling to businesses on a really good day. So I would look at the cycle and see which day was the best day to do so. And then I would go in person and drop off resumes. So when I used my cycle, it was easier to actually connect with employers and have a short interview with them. And when I didn't use cycles, it just didn't work out in the same way. So I really followed the cycles thoroughly during that time.
What other areas have you used cycle charts?
I'm a career counselor. So I work a lot with clients. And luckily, I also see their birth date. So I'm able to determine their cycle. And that really helps me when I work with clients.
How does it help you?
Well, if I provide job leads for the client or I tell them about a training program, I want to make sure that I seed that information in a good cycle day.
Do they set up the appointment themselves?
I control that because when I deal with the clients, I set up the appointments.
So you actually set them in good cycle days for them?
That's right. When I really follow cycles, my work goes more smoothly. On test days, for example, if the client needs to work on their resume and we have a meeting, then those are good days for me to help them out because it's detailed and it's not a new opportunity. They've worked on their resume. I'm just there to help them make their resume better.
You schedule the type of meeting based on your cycle so as to optimize the effectiveness of the meeting.
Exactly.
What other areas have you used cycles?
Just in my own everyday life and also with meetings if I meet my colleagues or if I'm out networking and I'm trying to generate more business, more employers to work with, then I do so on days where the cycle is more conducive to that.
Or more of the promotional cycle days.
That's right.
Where you're developing new contacts and whatnot.
That's right. Exactly.
Has there been any downsides to knowing cycles?
No, it's actually the opposite. I'm just so happy that I know about cycles. When I see people that don't have that understanding of cycles, and maybe they start a business in the wrong cycle, it doesn't work out, or maybe they start a relationship in, let's say, a 9-year, which is not the time to start a relationship, and things don't work, then you see that the impact of not knowing cycles on a person's life. And it's because they lack that awareness of cycles and how they can tap into the potential of that cycle in their own life. But once you understand cycles, then you see there's a cycle for a country. There's many cycles that you see how these cycles unfold.
So, for instance, using the cycle of the United States of America, you can see when certain things happen, you can predict how effective that policy might be.
Well, exactly. Like the United States is in a 4-year, which is a test year. And you can see how, the politics of that country is unfolding. So it's very challenging for this year, particularly.
It was also something that when my wife and I ran a business for 35 years or so, that we made sure we incorporated the business so that it was in my cycle. Businesses have a cycle based on when they're incorporated or when they're initiated. That's also important.
Well, you bring up a good point, looking at how a business is evolving based on the cycle. And that's also really interesting.
I remember chatting with someone who teaches cycle management training, and she was following the career of Adele. She tracked her career and where she had health problems. She could show the test cycle month in the cycle year, and she actually had it all mapped out.
Exactly, because cycles don't lie. And it's just a question of understanding the cycle and how it applies. There's so many different examples of cycles.
We have a podcast episode on the relationship of cycles and health. We have an episode on cycles and mental growth because they're related. We have one on raising children more effectively by knowing their cycles. We can apply the cyclic law in so many different aspects of our life because it is a basic law of mind.
It's such a valuable tool. I think back over the years and I think, how could I've lived a period of my life without the knowledge of the cycles? It's just so powerful to have that understanding.
Now, we've just recently converted the physical cycle charts, which you've been using for 40 years or so, into a cycle chart app. Have you had a chance to try them out yet?
I have, and it's very handy to have on the phone. It's great. You start your day and you can find out about your cycle day and what to expect for that day. So it's a wonderful, convenient tool.
Any final comments you'd like to share relative to cycles?
Learn about cycles and get your cycle chart. You'll be forever happy that you did.
Great. Thank you, Steffany. Appreciate your time and your insight.
Great. Nice to be with you today.
If you'd like to learn more about the cyclic law, you can download our free app, which is called Cycle Chart, on either the Android or Apple Store. Set up a free account. You can create an account with your email address or your Gmail or your Apple account or even your cell phone number. All you have to do is give it your month and date of birth, and it will configure your personal cycle information for a 5-month window. The current month plus 2 months in the future and 2 months in the past. So that should give you a chance to evaluate your cycles relative to the months, days, and years. So until then, happy thoughts.